There are quite a few barriers that I see to getting women into cycling. I know, speaking as a black woman on the cycling scene, where you don't see it and you feel like you can't be it, that's a problem. So representation is obviously key in encouraging more people from minority backgrounds to get into cycling as well. Financial constraints can be an issue also. I know from my own personal experiences how expensive getting into cycling can be. There are alternatives that are available to get into cycling. There are schemes that are available, like the Cycle to Work scheme, but not everybody has the privilege of being able to have the accessibility to that as well. So I think it's really important to talk about the different avenues that are available to get women into cycling, to know that it's not something that's completely out of their reach. Infrastructure is also something that can be quite an issue as well. I know I've talked about the joy of cycling in London, but at the same time as well, it can be quite a hairy experience too. London isn't a city that was built specifically for cycling, so looking at the planning and the infrastructure that can be done to improve that is something that would widen participation in the activity as well.
When we're talking about barriers to getting women cycling, I think it's important to note firstly that most men don't cycle either. We've got a cycling system that doesn't really work for men or for women. However, the rate of participation is even lower for women. So it's not so much a list of barriers, it's more a system that's set up that isn't meeting people's needs. So really it's creating that subjectively safe, comfortable, pleasant cycling environment. And if you see many of our towns, cities and rural areas, unfortunately you notice that for cycling it's not like that. It's not like that at all. And partly it's a change in mindset I think that we need. So very often in planning there's this image of the cyclist who is a guy in his 30s, he's wearing lycra, he's sporty, he's cycling next to an HGV, he doesn't really care about risk and so on. And that image of the cyclist is not just an image, it also permeates a lot of policy and planning. So it's imagining that the cyclist could be a 70-year-old grandfather, could be a woman with a couple of kids on her bike, it could be a really wide range of people. And if we can get that into our policy and planning, we won't end up with these rubbish painted bike lanes that nobody really wants, probably not even the guy who's using them.
I think the biggest barriers to getting more women cycling are all about understanding the different journeys that we have to make every day. So it's not even about gender, it's about understanding the complicated, busy lives that we lead. So how am I going to get to work or school or to where I have to do my shopping, and what am I doing for the rest of the day, and what mode of transport or travel choice works for that, and do I need my lights, and am I going to need my panniers, and is it raining? It's about all those things. So being organised is a very easy thing to say, isn't it? But it's about thinking about that through your next 12 hours, and that's really hard. So I think that's one of the biggest barriers. I think the other biggest barrier is about making sure that your bike is securely locked up so it's there when you get back to it, so that you can continue living your busy lives around your day. Because if it's not there, that takes hours out of your day and might turn you off cycling for years, like it did to me.
What I hear from women about why they don't cycle is always about safety. It's not wanting to cycle on the roads, it's not wanting to cycle with traffic, and it's also not wanting to cycle late at night or dark places and places like that. So if you attend to safety, then that just removes the biggest barrier, and then the rest I think can fall away.
So I think the biggest barrier to getting more women cycling is the infrastructure and the way we're building cycle paths. I think places where we've got traffic-free, segregated cycle routes are absolutely fantastic because anybody can cycle on it. Quite often when women are cycling, they're cycling with their children. So if a cycle path is going to work, it needs to be one that you can look at and think, yes, I would let my 5-year-old cycle along this path. If it's painted on a road, if it's a shared quiet route, those routes quite often aren't quiet. They aren't wide enough, they aren't safe to take children. They stop women from cycling because they just won't feel safe on them.
You say barriers, but perhaps women don't want to cycle. And, you know, it was put today at this event that why would women want to get on bikes, and should we be preaching to them that they should be on bikes? I personally don't cycle, but I don't have a problem with walking 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. So it's about choice. So if the women want to choose to go on a bike, marvellous, but if they want to choose to walk, fantastic. If they want to take a taxi, it's choice, ultimately, that's the end of the day. Active means movement, and movement means better health, and it's also better for the planet. So yeah, as long as the choice is there, I think politically, as a city, we'd be quite happy with that.
Some of the barriers for women cycling are practical, so we know that women are more likely to do the school run before they go to work, for example, and making sure that our cycle network is safe, not just for that commute, but also for when they're with their children, can be an issue. We also know, talking to women, that they don't feel safe on the roads. I speak to so many women who say that they would love to cycle like I do, but they won't because there isn't a safe segregated route. So making the roads safe, making our routes segregated wherever we can is absolutely critical to getting women on their bikes.
I feel like fewer girls participate in cycling once they reach secondary school, probably due to perceptions of being cool, or, you know, I think a lot of girls don't want to stand out in the wrong types of ways. And also there's a lot of pressure regarding body image and, you know, feeling shy and small and feeling like it could be dangerous being on the road and not really owning your own space.